Hey there, mandolin player. In today's video, we're going to be checking out the classic Bill Monroe standard bluegrass instrumental, Tennessee Blues. This one's a really great tune and kind of a must-know tune if you're going to dive into bluegrass mandolin playing, but there are a few different versions out there. Today we're going to be looking at the original Monroe version, which a lot of people describe as crooked when it comes to the form. And all I mean by that is just there are a few odd-numbered measures here and there. We're going to get into all that stuff later in the lesson, but if you're looking to learn a bluesy, awesome, fast bluegrass tune to add to your repertoire, you're in the right place. Stay tuned. Before we go ahead and dive into the lesson though, if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below and the bell notification button. That way you'll get notified whenever we upload a new lesson here to the Mandolin Secrets channel. Also, if you're interested in things like PDFs of the tab and sheet music, as well as backing tracks, play-along tracks, and access to monthly Q&A calls where you can ask me and Magnus Zetterlund any of your mandolin-related questions, check out that link below in the description to Mandolin Secrets Academy. You'll find everything you need to know at the link. Alright, my friend, let's go ahead and dive into tackling this tune, Tennessee Blues. Like I mentioned in the intro, this tune is played with some odd measures in there, and if you're looking at the tab that I've written out for this, if you're inside of Mandolin Secrets Academy, you'll see that there are a couple bars of 2/4 time scattered amongst the regular 4/4 time bars that are in there. Now, a lot of players have actually chosen to what I call straighten this tune out as they move forward through time. The Ricky Skaggs and Tony Rice version of this tune kind of straightens out some of those measures of 2/4 and turns them into 4/4. The Chris Thile, Michael Daves version takes it one step further and squares up all of the measures of 2/4 into 4/4 time. So we're going to tackle that in kind of a later lesson. Today, though, we're focusing exclusively on that Monroe version of the melody and adding all of those wonderful crooked beats in there. I think it's a great thing to learn some crooked repertoire like this and Clinch Mountain Backstep and other bluegrass standards because it challenges your sense of time and also kind of breaks up the monotony of the standard 4/4 bluegrass tune forms. So this is a great bit of repertoire to add to your playing, but just know that if you play this Monroe version, there might be some confusion with other jam buddies that you kind of come up against. Before we go ahead and dive into any of the specifics of this tune though, let's cue up a fast version of this tune for you to listen to, just so you can kind of hear the melody in its rendition entirely here, and then I'll give you a version here in a little bit at 160 beats per minute and 100 beats per minute. Let's check this version out at 220 beats per minute though. Alright, my friend, so that is Tennessee Blues in its entirety there. The version that I've kind of transcribed here or arranged here for you today is very heavily based on that original Monroe recording. I've kind of removed some of the double strings and open strings that he plays here just to make the kind of instruction and tab simpler. But one thing that I want to talk about right now is just kind of if you play any notes on your E string or your A string, most of the melody is played on those two strings today, you can pretty much add one of your open adjacent strings to that note to get kind of a fuller, more Monroe-like sound. So pretty much what I'm talking about here is instead of playing just the single notes that I have notated on the sheet music and tablature here, for that first measure and for the first few notes of the second measure, you can actually double the open A string with the notes that you're playing. And then continuing, you can do the same thing for bars 3 and 4. And even for bar 4, you can almost play the A and the E string both all the time for the first 5 notes of that measure. Stuff like that is really going to get you kind of an authentic Bill Monroe type sound on this tune and others that you play. You know, that was a common thing that Monroe liked to do, was use multiple strings on the mandolin to get a fuller, louder sound, and this will definitely help you achieve that. So there's another section of this tune that I find a little challenging because Monroe slightly changes his phrasing. If you were to listen through this tune, you know, just a few seconds ago, and you hear the measures that are being played over the D chord, you might think that the phrases are exactly the same for each measure, but they're actually a little different. So let's go ahead and break those down real slow before I even give you the full version of the tune here, just to be super clear on it, okay? So now for these D chord phrases, if we look at the last note of measure 8 going into measure 9, let's play this really slow because like I said, these D chord phrases seem like they're exactly the same when they're at full tempo, but there's actually some nuance and difference to them. So if I start, like I said, on the last and beat of measure 8, it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So there you have it. Let's try that one more time. So the first phrase. And now the second phrase. And the third. Alright, so I didn't want to blow over that because you can see that the last 2 notes of each of those measures of music kind of differ, and a lot of people don't get that when they're kind of working this tune out real fast on the fly, so it's worth taking an extra special look at it. Now let's go ahead and move on to the B part. I'm going to play this one slowly for you because it's kind of interesting. We're simply just playing A dominant 7 arpeggio notes on that top E string. Those notes right there, but there's some interesting nuance to them. So the first 2 measures of the B part, real easy. We're just playing and you can get away with that if you want, but on those last 4 notes of measure 20, or the second bar of the B part there, Bill actually uses those to slide up to that 9th fret, the C sharp. So one more time. 1 and 2 and 3. And now you don't have to do them exactly precisely on the beats like I did there, because I was kind of playing, you know, 3 and 4 and 1. And in fact, it'll sound a little more authentic if you're a little uneven and maybe scratchier with your articulation there. For lack of a better term, like less accurate with your phrasing sliding up to that. You can tell that last time I didn't play it totally accurate, I just kind of slid up. But if you want to be super accurate, that's also cool too. Now once we get to that 9th fret, that C sharp, easy peasy, just 2 measures of 8th notes there. Moving on, we're going to do, so we have kind of a pickup note that starts on beat 1 of the 5th bar of the B part. So 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Pretty easy there. Just 2 notes, kind of like a pickup note or a neighbor tone, if you will. And then when we get up to that G note, it's 2 measures of the 15th fret, kind of. We're doing the first bar as just 8 eighth notes. And then and a fall off on that last 12th fret. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're back into those kind of D note phrases, or excuse me, D chord phrases that we talked about earlier on. All right, my friend. Now, armed with some of the knowledge that I've just dropped on you here, adding some open strings to the single note melody that I've presented here today, and then kind of thinking through some of those transitions between notes, the slides, and kind of the getting that, you know, like I said, sloppier or kind of rough edge to your sound by not exactly sliding up in time. That's definitely some of the things that are going to get you to sound more like Bill Monroe on this one. But for right now, I would suggest kind of just following along with the demo footage that I'm about to get up here for you, and learning this melody as a single note melody, and then sprinkling some of those phrasing things on top of it later. That's kind of my approach to this Monroe style of mandolin playing. I'm not a master of that by any means, but I think just to conceptualize the notes that we need to play in our left hand, and then you know, kind of spice them up with some of those phrasing options. That's usually a good way to go in order to get that more authentic Monroe sound. You can also just play this as a straight single note melody and kind of make it your own, you know, add some of your own phrasing options later. So that's an option too. All right, my friend, that's enough yakking about this, enough tips and tricks. Let's go ahead and dive into the demo footage of this one. I'm going to get a version of this tune at 160 beats per minute queued up here. Now, if this is too fast for you, what I would suggest is just sitting back and watching. Even if it's not too fast for you, sit back, absorb the tune here, and see if you can conceptualize and follow along with where my left hand and right hand are going through the tune. Then I'm going to get you a version of this tune queued up at 100 beats per minute, and we can follow along a little more slowly there. So here's that version at 160 beats per minute. Let's dive in. All right, my friend, that's it for the fast version. Now that you've got an idea for how the left hand and right hand mechanics work a little bit on this tune, let's go ahead and dive into that version at 100 beats per minute. Slow things down real simple so that hopefully you can follow along. Now, as always, if it's a little too fast, don't hesitate to hit that gear icon below and select a different speed option for this video. That's a great tool that we have at our disposal here, and I think it can really help if the notes are still flying by a little too quick for you, okay? Let's go ahead and dive into this version at 100 beats per minute. Okay, my friend, that is it for Monroe's version of Tennessee Blues. Like I said, later on down the line, we're going to tackle a version of this tune that's kind of straightened out, similar to how Chris Thile and Michael Daves play it, or Ricky Skaggs and Tony Rice. So if those are two versions you're familiar with, stay tuned. We're going to get another video queued up here for you real soon, okay? Before we get out of here, though, drop us a comment below and let us know what you think of Tennessee Blues. Do you like the crooked version or the straight version of this tune? I'm kind of a fan of the crooked version myself, just because it's a little different than what you're used to in bluegrass, but I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Okay, my friend, thanks so much for tuning into this lesson. Really appreciate having you on board, and we'll catch you in the next video, okay?